Welcome back to Solo Adventures. My name is Livy and I'm here yet again with another BGG Solitaire Contest game review. So today the review is going to be a little bit different, and that's because this game is also a little bit different. Today we're going to be looking at Multiverse Express, and I will not be playing this game on camera for you. Now the reason why I'm not going to be demonstrating how to play this game is for three very good reasons. One is that the game is rather simplistic to learn. I think that the rulebook is very short and concise and you'll have no trouble picking this up on your own. Secondly, Solo McLaughlin has already made a playthrough video of this, so if you are just absolutely burning to figure out how this game is played, you can go look at that. But the most important reason why I'm not playing this game on camera for you is because I think you should go into this game completely fresh. I feel like the less you know about it or its story, maybe the more fun that you will have. This game reminds me of Seventh Continent, in that there is a correct way through. The game is somewhat linear, and it does not have super great replayability because of that, but the main feature of this game is its story. So the way this game works is it is powered by all of these cards. There is a lot of cards in this game. Like, it's a big stack. And these are just the cards that you use to actually navigate around in the world. These are item cards. And look at that, there are so many of them. Now, some of these are just random, that you pick from at various points in the game. But the vast majority of them, this many, are specific to parts of the game, and they are numbered. So you're going to have to look through these little decks to find exactly what you're looking for when the story directs you to. So I've heard this game compared to a choose your own adventure story kind of book, but I feel like if I was to make a comparison with anything, this game reminds me the most of an old school text adventure, or a point and click. And that's because, unlike Choose Your Own Adventure, as far as I can tell, I don't think there's just any sudden instant death. You don't just make a decision and then wham, you win, or, then you lose. It is a proper game, and you do have to solve the puzzles. Like a point and click adventure, you need to take different actions around the world. You might need to investigate, you might need to look under something, you might need to throw something. In a lot of cases, there are multiple ways that you can use the items in your inventory to interact with the world. So it's a little bit like Zork, honestly. Like, a tree, what do? You can chop it down, you can inspect it, you can climb it, and your ability to do actions is dictated by the items that you have. So you begin with a little starting deck and you get some more later on. And these will allow you to use different attributes like communication or fighting or investigation, things like that. You don't have hit points in this game. The way that you lose is that every time you want to take an action, you have to exhaust a card. And when all of your cards are exhausted, you can't take another action, except one special action which will allow you to refresh all of your cards, but in exchange you have to discard one of your items. So if at any point you get down to the point where you just can't discard any more cards, then, well, you lose. Also, like a point and click adventure, the logic in this game sometimes doesn't make sense because it is not bound by the laws of our normal reality. So I haven't seen anything completely preposterous yet, but you know those old games where you have to take like a soccer ball and a rubber band and you need to somehow create a weapon that can defeat an armored elephant? It's a little bit like that, maybe a little less silly, but you are going to still have to do some guesswork and a little bit of, or you have to use adventure game logic here in a lot of cases. The overarching story of this game, however, is not particularly strong. I don't know if you should play the game directly to experience the story, but rather to experience the exploration. And since there is limited replayability and since there is a correct path, you might have to make a couple of guesses and then lose and then come back and do it again. eventually you'll figure it out. But it's not like the story is like The Last of Us or anything. It's just kind of standard, silly adventure game sort of storytelling. I don't think that the real point of Multiverse Express, though, is to communicate a specific story. What I'm really feeling like is that Multiverse Express is a demo of a system that can be very strongly expanded upon. I might be wrong here, but I feel like the designer in making this game, yes, wanted to make a good game and wanted to make fun puzzles and wanted to make it enjoyable to play through, but to me it feels like they're kind of testing out a system. They're seeing if this engine works for this kind of a game. And in that respect, I would definitely have to say that it works. It's functional. It has a couple of problems, which I will get into, but overall, I believe this system has truly unlimited possibilities and you could do amazing things with this. I think you could really go into practically any setting, any kind of story you want to tell, and you could use this system. So what did I like about this game? Well, I like old point-and-click adventures and things like that, and so I felt really at home here with the logic and the kind of storytelling and the sort of puzzle solving that you're expected to do, collecting things in your inventory and just mashing them into other things and seeing if they work. The exploration is definitely a big plus for me. I really like games like this. And it does feel fair to some extent, and you don't really make any decisions that will completely doom you. It's all of your decisions over time and your exhausting of your abilities and having to discard them that will eventually lead you to lose. Building this game is quite easy, as it is just a bunch of cards, and I feel like it has just the right amount of color to get its point across. The different action icons have different colors to help identify them at a glance, and the items have colors that also help you identify what kind of item it is, but for the most part the cards are pretty plain, except for maybe a colored border on the card face, but all of the card backs are just plain black and white, and most of them have some kind of number on them. So even though this is a lot of cards, I think it will be relatively easy on your printer. I think it could also work okay in black and white, but I do think that being able to see the colored icons is really a big help. So what didn't I like about this game? Well, as I stated before, there are a lot of cards in this game, and you do not shuffle these cards. You don't just pick ones at random. No, you have to have them in a specific order. You need to have them, listed 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and basically that means that if you mix up your cards, or if you drop them, or if somehow they get disorganized, you're going to have to spend time filing them again. And then at that point, this game feels like filing the game, because you have to just sort through and try to get everything back in order. Otherwise, you're going to have a really hard time. And this is also the case with the special items. Now, the random items are fine, ABCD items and ABCD decks, but the item cards that are special are tiny. And these also need to be in a specific order. So it's really easy to tip these little decks over if you have them sitting beside you. I think what would be ideal is if I had like an itty-bitty file card folder or something like that. I've never seen one that would be quite the right size for this. But otherwise I feel like it would be really easy to have these just slip around, especially if you laminate them like I did. These can just be a big mess and a big nightmare. And you will be searching through these decks pretty often. Something really unavoidable about this game is that when you want to clean up, when you're done with a session, you have to put everything back in order for next time. So you're going to have a bunch of cards that have just been pulled out, set aside in the discard pile, and you're going to have to put them all back. And this is going to take a little time. Another difficulty that I have with this system is knowing when it's okay to get rid of story cards, because the thing is that as you play cards that are pertinent to where you are, you put them face up and you can interact with all of them. But I sometimes am not entirely sure when I should discard one of these story cards when I'm done with it, you end up with a really big line of all of these cards, and it can be easy to get disorganized. So is Multiverse Express a good game? Yes, I do believe it is a good game, but I think more importantly, this is a good system. What we've got here is good. It doesn't get me super excited. It is fun, and I do like solving the puzzles, but what does get me excited is the potential for this, and what this could become with a lot of work and effort put into making a really good story. If you're somebody who likes old school point and click type adventure games, or narrative type games, if you're a fan of the Seventh Continent or something like that, I think you're gonna like this game. If you're somebody who doesn't mind having to reread and replay parts that you've already been through, and if you're okay with a little bit of repetition in that way, I think this game will be just fine for you. If you can't stand adventure game logic, and you don't like having to guess, and you hate the idea of having to go back and playing parts of this again, this game will not be for you. But if you like game books, this game is a no-brainer. Make it. Play it. And that's what my final verdict is. Play this game. It's good. I'm not going to say anything more about the story or about the puzzles because I don't want to spoil anything for you. And I think that a big chunk of the enjoyment of this game is just kind of going in and wondering at everything that's happening around you. I had no trouble learning the game with the instructions alone. If you're having a really hard time understanding the instructions, you can watch Solo McLaughlin's video, which is in the description below. But I know that me personally, when it comes to narrative games, I like to know nothing. And I made this review for people like me in mind. So all aboard the Multiverse Express. I think you're really in for a treat. Thank you so much for watching. Please hit subscribe, because I don't think you're going to want to be missing any of the upcoming videos. I have so many more great games to cover, and at least one of them is bound to tickle your fancy. You could also support me on Patreon if you like, and you can check out the group for solo adventurers on Facebook. So until next time, my friends, happy adventuring.